Hello team and family, this is Ratios, Rates, Tables, and Graphs, and this is video number 1. Finding ratios from tables. Students in Miss Webster's science classes are doing an experiment that requires 250 milliliters of distilled water for every 5 milliliters of solvent. The table shows the amount of distilled water needed for various amounts of solvent. Letter A. Use the numbers in the first column of the table to write a ratio of distilled water to solvent. So we want to write distilled water over solvent. For distilled water, there's 100 milliliters for the first column in the table, and then there's 2 milliliters of solvent. So it's asking how much distilled water, for letter B, how much distilled water is used for 1 milliliter of solvent. So I can take 100 and divide it by 2 to figure out just 1. So 2 goes into 1 0 times. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down the 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. Bring down the 0. 2 goes into 0 0 times. So how much distilled water is used for 1 milliliter of solvent? It's 50 milliliters for every 1 milliliter for solvent. So 50 milliliters to every 1 milliliter of solvent. And I can put S below and D for distilled water, or DW. Use your answer to write another ratio of distilled water to solvent. So I already did that. I put 50 milliliters of distilled water to 1 milliliter of solvent. The ratios in A and B are equivalent or not equivalent. Well, I know that if I took the ratio 100 over 2 and I simplified that, that would be 50 over 1. So 100 over 2 and 50 over 1 are equivalent. How can you use your answer to B to find the amount of distilled water to add to a given amount of solvent? So in answer B, I found the unit rate. I found the unit, I should say the ratio of just 1 to the amount of distilled water. So I can actually multiply the solvent times 50. Solvent times 50 equals the distilled water. So that's my equation that I can use to solve for the rest of the table. So 3 times 50 is 150. I know that 4 times 50 is 200, so I'm going to put 4 up here. And then my last one, I need to figure out 3.5 times 200, or excuse me, 3.5 times 50. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 5 is 25, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 5 is 15, 0, 5, 7, 1, and I need to move my decimal once, so I move it once, so I got 175 for 3 and 5/10 milliliters of solvent. I just took all the numbers on the top, the solvent, and multiplied them by 50.